I'm gonna start this video off by saying that what you're about to see can be extremely dangerous. You're dealing with a lot of weight, a lot of pressures, and a lot of pinch points. But as long as you take your time, you're careful, and you keep your extremities out of all those pinch points, you can achieve results just like this. Now, along the way of testing all these different theories, I did have some, we'll call them learning experiences. So I'll be throwing those clips at the end, and maybe you can learn something from it too. But for now, let's start breaking these beads. What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be running you through the 6 ways I like to use to break the bead off a tire. So the very first thing you got to do is take the tire off your vehicle. The next thing we're going to have to do is get all the air out of this tire. I'm going to be removing the valve core because I have a valve core removal tool. If you don't have that, you can just push down on the valve inside your valve stem and let that air out. It's going to take a while, but it'll get the job done. The very first method I'm going to be taking you guys through in order to break the tire off of that rim is using a high lift jack. This is by far my favorite method. I think it works every time. If you don't have access to this, go ahead and watch the next couple steps and I'll walk you through methods without using a high lift jack. But when we're using the high lift jack, I'm going to be taking this jack. I have this little claw and you can put it underneath the frame of your car. If you got rock guards or anything nice and sturdy, you can put that jack underneath. I have a little spot on my bumper here. So I'm going to be placing the jack underneath my bumper, and I'm going to take the bottom of the jack, put it on top of the tire, trying to keep the base of this thing as close to the rim as possible. And I'm going to slowly jack it, and that'll put enough pressure down on that tire to break it off the bead. The next method we're going to be using is the scissor jack method. There's a good chance your car came with one of these in case you get a flat. So we got the tire underneath the frame of the vehicle. We're going to be placing this jack in between the tire and the frame, and this will break the bead. So the third method we're going to be doing is jacking up the car. I'm going to put a board underneath the frame of the car and on top of the tire, and then I'm going to slowly let off the jack, and hopefully that'll put enough pressure down on that tire to break the bead. The fourth method I'm going to be using is the lever method. So I created this crazy contraption here. All it is a 2x6 with a couple 2x4s on it. I'm not very fat, so I need that extra leverage. And then I got a board on the bottom here, and what I'm going to do is this end's going to go underneath the frame, this end's going to go in between the rim and the tire. I'm going to stand on this end, and hopefully that pressure will be able to break the bead. So as you just saw, this method actually worked out quite well, but behind the scenes it took 5 or 6 different versions of this to get it right. I had different length boards on here. I ended up snapping a board in the process, so I had to beef it up with this 2x6. But once you get this actually like dialed in, it works quite well. But you're gonna have to play around with all the different adjustments on your own because all cars that you're gonna be using are different, and the tire sizes you're gonna be breaking are all different. This is the 5th method I'm gonna be walking you guys through. I'm calling this the ramp method. So the setup is pretty simple. I got my tire sitting here. I have my ramp. All it is a 2x4, and it's underneath the tire of my Jeep. And I want to get this as close to the rim as possible. And then I'm going to put the Jeep in 4-wheel drive low. And what that's going to let this do is let this front tire actually crawl up the board. If you have a 2-wheel drive vehicle, this method isn't going to work as well. But as the Jeep crawls up this board, it's going to put a ton of pressure on that tire and break it off the bead. And this is the 6th method we're going to be using. This method is also extremely simple. The game plan is to take the Jeep and drive it up onto the sidewall of this tire. We don't want to drive up onto the rim, just the sidewall. So this works best if you have a four-wheel drive vehicle. That way this front tire climbs up onto this one as opposed to just pushing it out of the way. And I must also say that if you have a low profile tire, I haven't had any luck using this method on it, but if you have a Jeep, truck, something with a meaty sidewall on it, you'll be a-okay. Just needed a little help, that's it. This method here did take a little bit of finagling. What I ended up doing is releasing all the air pressure out of this tire. I then put the valve core back in it, and what that allowed me to do is drive up on top of it. It would hold some of that air pressure. I then released all the air pressure again, took the valve core out, and then the Jeep wasn't exactly heavy enough, so I jumped up and down on the bumper, and once I did that, that bead broke free. Now with the magic of YouTube and video editing, I'm sure every single one of these methods looked extremely easy, but that just wasn't the case. It took multiple tries and multiple setups to get that tire to the perfect point where it would pop off of that rim. But as long as you keep trying all these different methods, you'll be able to achieve great results too. So as promised, here are the learning experience clips. So here you can see I dropped the jack way too quickly. Luckily, I'm able to catch it in time. It didn't take long, but I found out that the car is just not heavy enough to break the bead of its own tire. I even tried jacking up the entire side of the car and putting the entire weight of it, not just the front half on it, and that did not work as well. I put my hand in a pretty bad spot here as I start to lower the jack, almost catch it underneath the car. Luckily, I'm able to catch it in time, but that could have been bad. So using the ramp method, I was not able to break the bead every single time. The Jeep just wasn't heavy enough. I'm sure if you had a heavier vehicle, you would be much more successful. But I tried different ramp methods and different setups to see if the different ways of putting pressure down on the bead would actually break it. I even tried jumping on the bumper here, but being that the Jeep wasn't heavy enough, I brought out the Mountaineer. Definitely weighs a little bit more, but it's also a two-wheel drive vehicle, but I just wanted to see how things would go. Unfortunately, the ramps just slipped. Here's the clip you saw at the beginning of the board breaking. Lesson learned, just needed a new design. Also, you got to be careful and watch your ankles because it is possible for this board to slip out. If you guys gained anything from this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.